Hi friends, I'm Chrissy. This is Questions for Dessert. Today is a big day. Today I am casting on my first sweater. But if there's one thing I've learned about myself as a oldest daughter, Gen Xer, gifted and talented kid, it's that I learn best when the stakes are low. When I have a sense of pressure in any way, I can give up. I can get really frustrated and take out more work than I need to. So when I decided that I wanted to make a sweater, I gave myself a year to learn the skills I needed to learn for a sweater. My intention for 2025 was to learn how to knit. That's it. So that in 2026, I could make a sweater. The last few months have gone swimmingly, and I feel like I'm ready, even though it's still 2025. So today I wanted to walk you through the 5 free patterns that I have used to teach myself the skills I need to make a sweater. I am making the step-by-step sweater by Florence. I have forgotten her last name. It's the one thing I didn't write down. But I'm making the sweater. I am planning on casting on my lunch break today. And when I decided to make this sweater, I started looking for patterns that gave me the skills for every step that I needed in the sweater. These are the 5 patterns that I've worked with. So of these 5, only 4 are completed, but that's okay. The first project that I embarked on is the Coziest memory blanket by Kemper Ray. This is a mitered square blanket done in a wide variety of fingering weight yarns. I really wanted to be a monogamous knitter. I really wanted to work on this project and this project alone until it was done. I was monogamous for the first 6, maybe 7 months. And then I just wanted to do something different. So the skills that I learned working on this blanket, I learned how to cast on. I learned how to use stitch markers. I learned how to identify the right side and the wrong side of my work. I learned how to pick up stitches. Part of this process is because the squares are done one at a time. You do have to pick up stitches along each edge. So I learned how to count the stitches that I pick up, how to make adjustments if they weren't quite a perfect number, and how far along each edge to go when I pick up. I learned how to rescue drop stitches in garter stitch, and I learned how to do decreases. So the way this is made is you start with a certain number of stitches in a V pattern, and then you gradually decrease that number of stitches as you work to a point here. So I learned how to do knit 2 together and slip slip knit. So this project is not finished. Haven't worked on it for a while, but I hope to get back to it soon. And first free pattern to prepare for my sweater is the Coziest Memories blanket by Kemper Ray. The next pattern that I worked up is the Easy Peasy Poncho by Noro Designs. Technically, yes, this is a poncho sweater. However, from a technical perspective, it's a blanket with a neck hole, right? I really, really like this poncho. This is from Noro Tosagari. It's colorway 12. I bought this yarn on our anniversary trip to Boone, North Carolina, and I love the way it's striped up. So this is also done in garter stitch. The skills that I learned from this project, first of all, was binding off and casting back on. But casting off and casting back on for this neck hole was like, it took so much bravery for me, because I had done, half of this sweater. And if I did this wrong, I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know would I lose it all? Would I work all the way back? I put on a lifeline. I did all of the things, and it turned out really well. I'm just pleased as punch. So from this, I learned how to bind off and cast back on in the middle of a project, and I learned how to do the Icelandic bind off. I'm really pleased with the stretchiness of this bind off. It holds its shape really well. It matches right up with just the standard long tail cast on, and I love it. So this is the second free pattern that I used to learn sweater skills, and this is the Easy Peasy Poncho by the Noro design team. The third pattern that I've used to give me the skills I need to feel confident knitting my first sweater is the Socked Cowl by Kelly McCure. I keep wanting to call it the Sockhead, but I wrote down the Socked, but I think it's Sockhead. This is a adorable little cowl. Oh, something I didn't say about the Noro sweater that I just remembered. It's also the first project that I blocked, so that was really scary. And the Noro sweater, the Easy Peasy Poncho, taught me how to block, how to be confident and comfortable blocking. But coming back to the Sockhead cowl, I really enjoyed this project. And this is from the Shopple Wool Zauberball. The colorway is Tapetenwhistle, not even close. But I did look up the translation, and it means a change of scenery. And I just love the way this worked up. There is this one really random, super wide band of red, and I don't know why it's there, but I love it. This self stripe was just beautiful, and it has such lovely drape. I knitted this just exactly to pattern. What I learned from this pattern is I learned how to do the German twisted cast on. I learned how to purl, first of all, which was something that was new to me. I had knitted through the blanket and the poncho only doing knit stitches. So I learned how to purl and how to do, this is 2x2 rib. I learned how to work in the round and do the invisible join. I learned how to work in stockinette, how to pick up drop stitches in stockinette. And it's not perfect. Like there are holes in it. It was important to me to think about what holes are really necessary to fix and which holes are just going to be holes. And looking back, like here's one, but it's not really that big of a deal. Like as I see it, it's like right here. Like it's hard to see, and it really came out, it really filled in the blocking. Stockinette, what needs to be fixed in stockinette, how to pick up drop stitches in stockinette, and I also did a super stretchy bind off in pattern. The video that I used, it's linked in my Ravelry page, talked about how when we do the super stretchy bind off, it can look wonky in the knit stitches. So it talked about doing a stretchy bind off in the purl and a typical regular bind off in the knits, and it came out as this perfect, looking at it, which end is even which. I don't know. One end is the German twisted cast on, and the other is a modified super stretchy bind off, and it worked. And I love my little cowl. So this is the Sockhead cowl doesn't match my dress, but I love it. My third free pattern, my third project to prepare for my first sweater. The fourth free pattern that I used to build the skills that I felt I needed to make my first sweater is the Bandana Cowl by Pearl Soho. What I was so excited about with this pattern is it taught me how to do German short rows. So for this pattern, you cast on the point, and then you work back and forth, building the width of the project through German short rows. Again, I kind of had to learn what holes were just going to be holes, what holes to fix, what would block out. This cowl is for my husband. He really likes it. I made this with the Big Sur by Madeline Tosh I'm pretty sure this one's DK. It's a great little cowl. It really stands up. I feel super confident now. I understand. It's not even just feeling confident in the technique of a German short row. It's about understanding what it does and why. And when I can understand the why, then I'm able to just really focus in and do the thing. So I love this little cowl. I think I did it in 2 or 3 days, which is not my typical pace and speed at all. This also was the first item that I understood why we do and block a gauge swatch, because I did get, when I was knitting it originally, when I was knitting up the swatch, the gauge was way off. And then when I blocked the swatch, the gauge was perfect. So I really didn't have to change anything from pattern. So the fourth free pattern that I use to build my necessary skills for knitting is the Bandana Cowl by Pearl Soho. The thing that was left for me to learn after those 4 projects was how to increase. And for some reason, I was really nervous about this. The more videos I watched about make one right and make one left, the more just intimidated I got. And the more I worked it on, I practiced, the more frustrated I got. Either I was splitting the yarn or I was having a really hard time making that knit in the front and I was getting frustrated. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to cast one on and we're going to see what happens. And I decided to cast on this project is not finished, the Boneyard shawl by Stephen West. When I chose this pattern, I was not initially aware that there is a step-by-step tutorial by Stephen West for this pattern. So I really enjoyed in his talk through of the pattern, his real laissez-faire attitude. When he said something along the lines of, and if your stitch count doesn't match, and if anyone is close enough to know that, then they need to back away. And he talked about with the increases, how to fiddle your needles around, how to get your needles in the same place, but from a different technique. That really gave me permission to, again, to think about the mechanics of the stitch and not how to get it to look exactly the same. The end product is the same. How to make, so the way that I finally figured out how to do that increase is if I put my needle in the front of the stitch but drop my working yarn, then it changes the tension in my hand and I'm able to do that and then pick the yarn back up and knit the stitch. So his encouragement to explore how we get our hands in the yarn to make the shape was this massive permission slip for me. And I am this far into the shawl. I have this much left of the first of 4 skeins. I'm making this in Silky Merino by Malabrigo, and I'm using the colorway Arco Iris. So what I'm learning from this pattern, from this project, is, again, make one left, make one right to get ready for the raglan. I'm learning how to break my rhythm in order to take the extra time I need to make a special stitch, and not expecting myself to make the special stitch at the same pace that I make a knit or a purl. I know. The perfectionism runs deep here, friends. I am learning how to count rows. So, like, I understood in theory how to count rows before this project, but I was never sure, do I count the stitches that are on the needles? What is my exact count? And this has really given me the framework I've needed to understand that the odd rows and the even rows are going to look different. And depending on if I'm knitting or purling, then that tells me if I'm on an odd row or an even row, and how to read my knits versus my purls. And that's given me the confidence this far in, I've started this less than a week ago, to not have to carry the pattern around with me, to know that I make X amount of stitches in this way, and then if I'm on a purl row, I do this. If I'm on a knit row, I do this, and I make the easy stitch hard and the second stitch, the harder stitch second. And then I know I know how to count the distance between each of these rows of purl bumps. Like, this has just increased my trust in my ability to work intuitively once I understand the basics of the pattern. So friends, that's it. Those are the 5 free patterns that I have used to build my skills to feel confident going into my first sweater. My swatch is a bit blocked overnight, so it's dry downstairs. And my next step is going to be actually casting it on. And we're going to be doing that and talking about it in the month of October. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you hang around to watch the sweater come into being, and I'll see you really soon.